Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. We're here with the prelim final tips. What a week it's going to be. I'm so excited to get into this. And obviously for the preliminary finals coming up, what a week it is going to be. As I said, these games are almost, as big as the grand final. And I think there's a lot of people that, get more excited for the prelims than the grand final themselves. And, it's one of those weeks where no matter what team wins, like whatever happens from there, if you make a prelim, your year is pretty much going to be remembered, as a good one regardless. But yeah, just before we get into the tips, guys, I'd love to ask you if you could please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. We're aiming for 100 subscribers by the end of the year. If we can get that, that'd be incredible. You guys have been showing some insane support in the channel, so thank you guys very much for that. But yeah, let's get straight into last week's tips and then go over our preliminary final tips for next week. Alrighty guys, so here we are in prelim final week. As you can see, we've got all the games here and how they played out. Obviously we know what happens in the qualifying finals, or we know what did happen in the qualifying finals and the elimination finals. And yeah, last week I tipped the Pies over the Dockers. I said we were too good to go out in straight sets, and I'm happy to report back. I'm sure you guys already know this, obviously, but yeah, we got the win. It was a dominant performance by the Pies here. I was at this game. If you haven't seen my vlog from yesterday, make sure you go check that out. But yeah, ultimately, we should have won this game by like at least, 8 goals. Like a lot of people would say that. We went on a tear pretty much the whole game. We dominated the first quarter. Our inaccuracy sort of kicked in the second quarter. It just switched so randomly. We had kicked 6 straight. And then we just started missing all of a sudden. So yeah, really should have been a bigger win. It never really felt like Freo were gonna, have a chance at winning. It never really felt like they were in it. Our ball movement was incredible. We had our forwards, it was a real mixed performance in terms of goal kickers. You had Ginnivan popping up for 3. I think Elliot kicked a few. Mychek kicked 1. Just goal kickers from all over the forward line there, and a few of the mids as well. Yeah, DeGoey with 1 as well. But yeah, overall good performance. Super happy we got that win. Great game it was. And yeah, for Freo, unfortunately their season ends there. Still been a really impressive season for Fremantle, and I think all Fremantle fans will agree there. There's nothing to be disappointed about in terms of their season. I mean, from where they were last year, I think 11th, into a semi-final. Very impressive. And of course they won that Elam final, which was a miraculous comeback. So I think their heads are going to be high for next year. The Dockers there. But moving on to Friday night's game. This was one that I don't think really anyone see the result coming that we got on Friday night here for this Melbourne Lions preliminary final, semi-final. Sorry, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Not a prelim final, semi-final. And yeah, the first half of this game, you sort of thought, there we go. That was pretty much all there was for it. It was just going to be a repeat of the last few times the D's played the Lions. And I think I've seen somewhere that the D's had bet the Lions by 50 points both times this year in the home and away season. And the first half looked like things were going to script like their last 2 games had played out. And yeah, it was one of those games that you sort of just got the feeling it wasn't going to be a very entertaining one. And I was, really contemplating turning it off. And then by the end of the second quarter, the D's had kicked a few and they were right back in it. End of the third quarter, sorry. It was all square, 59 apiece, and you're like, hold on a second here. Something's actually happening. Will this be the game that the Lions break the MCG hoodoo, which I think it was, around 10 years, 2013 since they last won there. And yeah, I still cannot believe it. I mean, they were probably the biggest underdogs, maybe in the whole final series for this game so far. I don't think there's been a more underdog team in terms of a matchup. Maybe Pies Sydney next week will match that. But yeah, incredible win by the Lions. Very impressive. And here we are with the final 4 teams remaining. Geelong, Lions, the Swans, and the Pies. I think, 2 of the 4 teams there, even 3, arguably, I don't think many people would have picked the Lions, the Swans, or even the Pies, of course. I mean, the most surprising there to have made a prelim final. I mean, I guess if we're talking about the start of the year, the Lions would have been expected to make a prelim. But it really didn't look like that was going to happen just a few weeks ago. And here we are. So yeah, starting off on the Friday night, we're obviously got the Cats here taking on the Lions at the MCG. I mean, things have just changed all of a sudden for the Lions. The hoodoo no longer exists. So you seriously think now that the Lions can, do anything after last week, or I feel that way at least, because I think, yeah, I just didn't expect it. But yeah, now that Hoodoo's gone, I honestly don't know what's going to happen for this game. I feel like this could go one or two ways. How I see it personally, either the Cats just stroll on into a grand final here, sort of blow the Lions out of the water, or I feel as if the Cats could again trip up one step short from a grand final, sort of in a different fashion this year, obviously winning the qualifying final, but I could honestly see it happening in the prelim here, and I could see the Lions winning this, defying all odds. Again, it's going to be one of those games that I feel like is going to be just like if the Lions can hold down their Geelong key forwards, Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins are going to be potent in that foreline. They've got Tyson Stengel as well. The Lions, they held up a pretty good defense last week. I think it was one of the lowest scores the D's had been held to for the year. So yeah, if they can get a hold of Geelong's forward line, then they're going to have a real good chance in this game. And I do give them a chance, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to tip the Cats here. I think I'm going to go with the same sort of outlook that I did in my finals predictions video. It was, the outlook that as if I was to win $1 million if I were to tip this final series correctly. So I think going off that basis, I'm going to go the Cats here. Because, yeah, I mean, it's so hard here. It's so hard to tip. I could seriously see anything happen here. I mean, the Lions in a grand final. Just imagine that. I mean, really, if the Lions made a grand final and, they're obviously going to be coming up either the Pies or the Swans, what a matchup that would be. I mean, no one would have predicted any of these three matchups possible here. The Lions Swans, the Lions Pies, those two matchups, sorry. But yeah, I think in my predictions video, I went Geelong to make the grand final and lose to Melbourne. Now, that's obviously not possible anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Geelong still make the grand final. I'm going to say they beat the Cats here, the Lions here. Why am I getting this mixed up here? But yeah, I'm going to say they win the prelim final, make it into another grand final. And yeah, that's my prediction there. Going on to the second semi-final. Wow, I mean, as a Pies fan, I just cannot believe it that we've actually made a preliminary final. I mean, I did tip this, obviously, but it still blows my mind. We played the Swans a few weeks ago at the SCG, and they absolutely dominated us. It wasn't like a massive scoreboard thrashing, but, that was a game I was at, and you could just see the way they cut off our insane ball movement and our fast transition from the back line to the forward line. And we put that on display this week against Fremantle. We did that, probably the best we had all this year. But the Swans obviously are not going to let that happen as well as we did this week. So I'm happy that we did lose to the Swans, or we have played there recently, because I think we're going to take a lot of learnings out of this. And I could see us pulling one of the great all-time upsets against the Swans here. And we travel well. We did it in 2020 against the Eagles as well. So I could see that happening. What really scares me about this game is our backline. I feel like, in a way, our backline are more suited to defending those key forwards and those key position players. I don't know why. I feel like we struggle a lot, or a bit more, I should say, when it comes to the small forwards and those dangerous ground ball players like Papley, Heaney, all those guys that are in that Sydney forward line are just so incredible. You give them half a second and they're just snapping those incredible goals that you really don't give them any chance of kicking, but they make it happen more often than not, the Swans, and that is why they are so dangerous in that forward line. So that's what sort of worries me. We don't really have those defenders, or we do have a few here like Maynard and Murphy that are, going to be more effective against their smalls, but Howe and Moore are more, those intercept defenders that are going to come across and help spoil balls against those key forwards. So that's what sort of worries me a little bit. Because, yeah, I think we're more effective at spoiling or defending those sort of entries rather than the hack balls forward that, bounce around. And I just remember this from being at the game just, a month ago. But, yeah, on the Pies side of things, I can see us getting this win. I mean, we've got Tagoe back. We didn't have him in the last game we played against the Swans. If we can get that ball transition, and I'm really hoping we learned something from this loss against the Swans. I'm really expecting a close one here, and I think a lot of people are going to be tipping a close one. But yeah, look, I'm going to have to go to Swans, okay? I hope I'm wrong here. Don't get me wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. But yeah, I would be more than happy, you know, if this is where we bailed out this year. It would be, it would just make for such an impressive season. But yeah, I think this may just be the Swans' day. I hope not, obviously, being a Pies supporter. But yeah, at the SCG, it's going to be such a tough task to do. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And that obviously leaves us with a Geelong-Sydney grand final. I mean, yeah, what a game that is going to be. Yeah, incredible. But yeah, I'll say for the Cats here we go. Cats by 11 points. And I'm going to say the Swans get over the Pies by 5 points for an absolute prelim thriller there. So yeah, guys, that is my tips. Please leave your tips down below. I'm super curious to see, you know, if any of you guys have backed in the Pies or the Lions here to make for what would be a super unexpected grand final as well there. But yeah, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, all that. I'd very, very much so appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.